Morning and welcome to a rather miserable Sunday morning, I might add. This video is entitled I have lots of spam on my channel. And why have I just entitled it this? So it's not really about music. So if you want to turn off, if you don't want to listen to me rant on about something else other than music, now's the chance to hit the sort of stop button. But it really is an extension of a video I did several months ago where I talked about people trying to hack my social media feeds, which are the things that lie behind this channel. So there's a Twitter account, there's an Instagram account, etc., etc. And what I was saying at that point in time was there was somebody in the Ukraine trying to log on to my Instagram account, and I found somebody in Africa trying to log on to my YouTube account. So as a direct result of that, I then took action to increase the security over the social media feeds, so that now all the social media feeds are protected by a security mechanism called two-factor authentication. And basically that goes one above passwords. Okay, it means you have to have a security, and in my case a biometrical two-factor authentication mechanism that will allow you to authenticate the device to get into the account, to be able to do things like post and alter settings, and more importantly, alter ownership. Now, this is what the hackers are trying to do. Is they're trying to get ownership of your social media feed, and the reason why they're trying to do that is because if they can get ownership of your social media feed, they can then spam other social media outlets electronically. And it looks like you're doing it, and your feed gets shut down and they go on to do somebody else's. So that's kind of what I've done to protect myself. Anyway, this has all happened since I went to court earlier this year as a result of my divorce proceedings. And ever since then, I've had a stream of emails stating that an individual or a group has my password, and if I don't pay X euros or X bitcoins, they'll access my account and do all kinds of things. Now, they do have a password. Okay, that's fair enough. But that password doesn't appear anywhere anymore. I went through every account I had, and I changed all the passwords quite a few years back now. So, unlucky guys, if you're trying to use that password, you're not going to get anywhere because it doesn't work. It was a password I used 10 years ago. It's not a password I use now. So that's where we are. And as I said, it's sort of a lot of stuff has come out since that was my ex put a particular set of documents in the divorce bundle and sent them to the court. Now, what I'd done for my ex, rightly or wrongly, one might say, is I'd actually written down a letter, or I'd actually written a letter to her that in the event that I was to die, for argument's sake, that letter would be given to her, and that would allow her to get access to money and funds and know where all the bits and bobs were. That's what the letter was doing. It was designed that in the event of my death, she wouldn't struggle for money. It's the kind of guy I am. Of course, I got panned for doing it in court, but that's a different kettle of fish. So everything has changed. Now, I've now started receiving emails from people like YouTube, and the email is quite convincing, and it should be appearing up here somewhere. And it's all correctly, unlike a lot of emails where the spelling is rubbish and the grammar is rubbish, and you can tell that it was typed by a Nigerian 5-year-old sitting in somewhere in deepest, darkest Africa. These actually look quite professionally done. And at first glimpse, you probably would look at this and you would say, well, what's YouTube saying? And this was a YouTube email, as you can see. And I sort of looked at it, and the first glance when I looked at it on my phone was, crying out loud, here we go. What's happened now? But I didn't do anything about it because I was at work at the time. So when I came home, I sort of had a good old look at it. Now, these emails in the industry, and I do work in the IT industry, and my company at the moment is doing a massive education exercise internally within the company about cybersecurity and about phishing exercises. Now, what's a phishing exercise? Well, a phishing exercise is a process where an external party, or what we would call a third-party agent, is trying to elicit information about you or your organization by sending through quite a lot what looks like not anonymous, that's the wrong word, inconspicuous would be the right word, emails. And those emails may concern something that you are actually actively engaged in doing, and therefore you would open those emails and it might ask you for some information. Now, I'm very, very cagey about giving information out now. In the digital age, the more somebody knows about you, the more they can attack you. So, don't give out your address, your postcode, your date of birth, all this sort of key identity information. I mean, they can get it anyway. I mean, they can go and look various things up and find out a lot of this information, but don't put it on a plate. That's the bottom line. Don't put it on a plate. Anyway, so this email arrived, this phishing exercise. And I'll read the text to you. So, I mean, the text is up on screen, but I'm going to read it. Okay. We have received a complaint that your channel has lots of spam videos. Please check and edit the spam videos we have marked by clicking the link below. Otherwise, if you don't edit the spam videos on your channel will be closed within 24 hours. Thank you for your patience in this process. Now, there's some really interesting language in this email, okay? So the first thing is there's urgency. Right, urgency means you've got to do something now. This is one of the ways that a lot of in the UK we're having something called I can't think of what the correct term is, but effectively where people are ringing people up and saying your bank account's been compromised, move money to another place, and they give them some details, and all of a sudden all the money out of their accounts is siphoned off somewhere else, never to be seen again. Now, there have been some law changes in the UK for that sort of stuff, but this is a classic example of this. There's urgency. You must act. You must do something now. Now, the first thing you do, your reaction would be to do it. The piece of advice here is don't. Look at it and have a jolly good look at what you're reading. Okay. The second thing is, it's saying thank you for your patience in this process. Well, why am I being patient? You've just told me there's a problem with my channel. Everything's going to go to pot, and I'm being patient. But that implies I need to wait. So on one thing I've got, your channel will be closed in 24 hours, and on the other side I've got thank you for your patience. That doesn't make an awful lot of sense. So there's automatically you've got a contradiction in the email. That should be triggering alarm bells completely. Then we go on to we have received a complaint. It has lots of spam videos. Now, I have to be honest and say YouTube would never write that. Okay, YouTube would contact you directly and say there is a problem with a video. All right, they wouldn't tell you there was a problem with all the videos. They would tell you there was problems with a video, and they would write to you pretty much individually across a number of videos to tell you there was problems with the content, and you'd see that in your video feeds because the content would be there would be marks against individual videos. YouTube has a way of doing this. So if you have a complaint, somebody's raised a complaint against you against a video, that is individually called out. It's not called out on a generic way. So there's a classic one. So of course, what you're going to do at this point is you're going to click on the box that is below that says click for details. Now, that is going to take you to a spammers page that looks like a YouTube page, and I've not done it because I've already spotted that this is a false email. At which point you're probably going to be asked to enter your YouTube name and your YouTube password, and of course, if you do that, you've then given your hacker the credentials to the kingdom. Okay, keys to the door. whatever you want to call it. Now, in my case, even if I did that, they wouldn't be able to get into the channel because of the aforementioned security that I've put on the channel, which I mentioned earlier on in this video. But you're giving them an easy ride, you're giving them the password. Okay, so that makes it much easier for them to try and get into your channel. So the next thing to have a look at if you get something like this, right? So saying that your social media feed, your YouTube music channel is going to be shut down, is to go and have a look at who sent you the email. And this is such a telltale sign. Now, unless the hacker has managed to infiltrate the organization that it is purporting to represent, their email will not come from the organization. Okay, and if we go and look at YouTube, I would be expecting an email from someone like support@youtube.com or maybe creators@youtube.com. Okay, so an address like that, right? What we actually get is and again it's coming up on the screen, we get an email from nonsensical@mail.ru. Now, .ru I know is a Russian termination. That means that that domain that is hosting that email server is somewhere in Russia, right? That's the red light going do 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 do. Right? This is an utter spam. Now, some people are very clever in that they create a email account or a domain email account that looks very close to youtube.com. Okay, but there is only one youtube.com, and that is owned by YouTube. So if you see an email coming from another organization asking you to do something on one of your social media feeds or anything else, your website, whatever it happens to be, if it's not coming from their domain address, you do not click on it. It's as simple as that. Now, the other things that can happen here is when it says click for details, you can be doing things like you can be downloading malware to your PC or your Mac, and that will then start keylogging what you're doing and looking at screens, and allows hackers to break into your system and actually take over your system, lock you out. It can put drive locking software on your machine. Okay, now obviously the idea is that you have good enough antivirus software on your machine to protect you against that stuff. But the rule of thumb in the industry, and this is where my company is having a big campaign at the moment, is don't click the damn thing in the first place. And we have it's quite funny actually. I'll tell you the story. In the UK there is a dating website called Plenty of Fish. I don't know whether it's in other places around the world, but there's a dating website called Plenty of Fish, and it used to have a symbol of a fish, and it was the sort of classic symbol of two arced ellipses with a little eye on it, right? So that was the Plenty of Fish logo, and my company has taken a derivative of that logo, I suppose, and it has now embedded it into every email client we have, and it's the phishing. So if you suspect that an email is phishing for information, then you click this button, it sends it off to our group security, and we can then block the domains, etc. But I nickname it the Plenty of Fish button, which sort of rather upsets our group security chaps. But it does look like the Plenty of Fish button. So now, going back to this email. Now, I didn't click it. However, if I was somebody like, there is a comic in the UK called Joe Lycett, who, if you don't know, go look him up. He's actually very, very funny. He's a very funny chap. And he appears on quite a lot of the sort of panel shows and stuff like that, especially the 8 out of 10 Cats stuff that is done on Channel 4 in the UK. Very, very funny. He's a very, very dry comedian, but some of the stuff he does is brilliant. Go watch his videos on renting a house. That is brilliant. And it's all scam videos. These are all people trying to scam people. He's done a number of these, and they are absolutely genius. Now, if I were to take his angle, what I would do at this point is say, "Dear Mr. YouTube, thank you for letting me know that my channel has lots of spam. I somehow suspected this to be the case. Can you let me know how YouTube will help me manage this spam? Yours sincerely, Mr. YouTube Creator. But as I'm not going to click on the email and I'm not going to respond to the email, that's where I leave it for this week.
Remember, hit that like button if you like what you saw. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified about more rants, more mailbag, more questions and answers, and more videos about this sort of stuff when it's loaded to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.